Hi all, thank you for attending our regular PLC meeting. As you all know, today we're going to look at two instances where students have been a little challenging to work with. Firstly, we'll go through what's going on in our school cafeteria after the implementation of assertive discipline in our physical classrooms. And secondly, we'll discuss Ms. Jackson's issue that she's having with her virtual classroom, with students taking too much time to settle in before being ready for instruction. But before we get started, I would like Ms. Jackson to give us a reminder of our norms.
Thank you, Francois. Here are the norms that we have established for our PLC meetings at the beginning of the year. Let's take a look at them and just be reminded to follow them.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. We'll now go on to share any trends that we may have identified while reviewing the data of our students from our physical classrooms. Ms. Leah, would you please start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. As you know, we've been using assertive discipline in our high school classrooms since the beginning of the semester. In response to some major behavioral issues we were experiencing at the beginning of the year, we reviewed our classroom policies to ensure that we had clear expectations and clear consequences, and that all high school teachers had communicated these with their individual classroom plans to parents and to students. So since implementing an assertive discipline approach, the data shows that there have been significantly fewer referrals to the assistant principal for classroom behavior problems. Across all subjects, it appears that teachers have been able to better manage behavior in their classrooms. I think this may be due to the fact that clear expectations of the students are being set in the classrooms.
Okay, good. Thank you for that, Leah. So for me, looking at the data, I found that since the assertive discipline has been implemented in the classrooms, the number of disciplinary referrals has gone up for the cafeteria. I think this may be because there's an inconsistency with what we expect our students to do in the classroom and what we expect for them in the cafeteria.
Yeah, and what I've seen more from the data is like since the beginning of the year, many students seem to value the opinion of their peers greatly. So that could lead to the attention-seeking behavior, such as throwing food, being rowdy. And another thing that I've noticed is like maybe there's some boredom, because look at it, it's like it was listed as one of the major causes of frustration for the students. So I think maybe the cafeteria did not provide enough opportunities for them to have social engagement, so they are bored and then they act out.
I would now like to open the floor to suggestions for strategies to address these trends that have been identified. Ms. Jackson, would you be so kind as to start us off with this?
Thank you. Well, I think clear expectations should be established for behavior in the cafeteria. And I think this needs to be as consistent as possible with those that were set in the classroom, because we got pretty good data. And I think it also might be a good idea to put up some visual reminders of these expectations in the cafeteria. Maybe we can create a poster.
I think those are great ideas. I think we could also promote positive behavior through positive reinforcement. We could do this by using verbal praise, recognition programs, or giving tangible rewards to students who exhibit positive behavior, such as cleaning up after themselves. I think that providing a structure can help reduce disruptive behavior in the cafeteria, such as having different areas for different activities like eating or socializing or studying. We could also involve creating a schedule or routine that allows students, or that students can follow, such as designated times for entering and leaving the cafeteria.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that, Leah. I'm going to piggyback. So I think addressing some of the environmental factors, such as the noise, the lighting, and maybe even the physical layout of the cafeteria can have a positive impact on our student behavior. I think we can improve the behavior by creating designated quiet areas as a starting point, as Leah was kind of referencing. I also think that we should involve the students in creating and enforcing these new behaviors that we're going to be adopting, to give them a sense of ownership. Students can be involved in creating the rules or code of conduct and providing input on these consequences.
So the recommendations that, it can be counseling, like giving them individual or group counseling to the student who are dealing with emotional or behavioral issues to help them cope or build social skill. Another way is to have social skill training, so they can, I can offer to set up a program for the students who struggle with isolation or building positive relationship with their peers. So to navigate them in the social situation.
I've noted all of your suggestions so that we can refine them at a later stage. Now I'd like us to move on to discuss trends that any of us may have noticed in the data of our online students. Ms. Jackson, would you please be so kind as to start us off?
Yes, I'm having right now a problem. As you know, I'm teaching students with learning disabilities, and they struggle with transitions, especially when moving from one environment to another. When they come to my classroom, the change in setting and the shift in focus can be quite overwhelming for them. Also, as you know, virtual classrooms, they require login, access to platforms like Zoom, and also access to materials. And my students with disabilities, they face challenges with technology. Also, they get easily distracted with notifications and physical surroundings. It takes time for them to redirect their attention and also to mentally shift their focus to the session goals. Also, they miss the social cues that they normally understand in the physical classroom, and they get really anxious. And this is taking around 10 minutes in every class.
Thank you for sharing. I've noticed the same thing happening in my virtual classrooms. However, over the past few weeks, it's become less and less of an issue. I think that in my case, it may have been due to a lack of structure because since I've started taking a more structured approach to online teaching, students seem to have improved in terms of the time they take between signing on and being ready for instruction.
All right, so with my class, I've had some of the same issues. They used to sign on, but they were not ready for class. My students, they weren't prepared for the online discussion. They have a deep bag of excuses ready, whether it's from needing a charger because the laptop's battery is about to die, to being thirsty, they need to go get a glass of water. All these problems could have pretty much been solved before the start of class. So I just came up with a checklist for my students of things that they can make sure that they have before they sign on to class. And since I gave them this checklist, things have become a little bit smoother for us.
Yeah, it seems like we all have experienced more or less the same problem, right? Like, because my student also took a long time to get ready after the sign on. And but so in my case as well, some of the students, they really distracted by their surrounding. So what I've done is I started to use more engaging materials to have them actively engage in the class. And what I've noticed is they starting to be a bit more excited and take less time to get ready.
I would now like to open the floor to suggestions to address these trends that have been identified. Ms. Leah, would you be so kind as to start us off with some suggestions?
Yeah, so like I said, since I took a more structured approach to teaching my online class, the problem that Ms. Jackson is facing seems to have improved a lot for my class. So I established clear expectations and routines for my classroom to avoid confusion and frustration for the students. I started setting clear expectations around attendance, participation, and most importantly, communication, which I think has helped a lot.
So for me, I've provided advance notices and reminders to my students to make sure that they're ready for class when signing on. In addition to sending them reminders about the content that we're covering, and which materials they need to have ready for the lesson. We also use the checklist that I mentioned earlier that covers general items to have ready before class, which includes laptop charger, bottle of water, notepad, make sure you use the bathroom, those type of things.
Yeah, great strategies. And the ones that I've used is the strategy I use them, like using more engaging materials that I mentioned to help them feel more motivated and to keep their attention from drifting to their surroundings. So I've been using, incorporating videos, interactive simulations, or even hands-on activity that I could use online. And during the, to have the active participant. So I use things like interactive polling, quizzes, or platform built in, in the chat function for them to feel excited when they sign in.
Thank you, everybody. I took note of all your strategies. And I think some of the strategies I could use is a more structured approach to avoid confusion, sending advance notices and reminders of materials before the class, as Jordan said, and the checklist for the students. Also more engaging materials to make them feel more motivated, such as videos and hands-on activities. Thank you.
I'll document all of the meeting outcomes on a Google Doc, and then I'll share it with everyone for implementation. I think that 1 month is a good time frame to reconvene on this subject to possibly revise our strategies if needed. But I do feel that we have identified some concrete trends in the student data, and that we're coming out of this meeting with real actionable steps to move forward with. So I think it was a good meeting. Yeah, have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.